I was born October 6th, and on October 7th, 2023, there was a feeling inside of me that something just bad just happened, and I needed to do something. So I surrounded myself with people who also felt the same way, and we immediately took action. We organized a rally because there was already rallies planned before our first pro-Israel rally in support of the Hamas atrocities. And so that was kind of our segue into how I got to become an activist. And CJA then just naturally came in. You had the absolute worst thing that could be happening to Jewish people. They'd be harassed every single day, followed, threatened. Every single type of thing that you can possibly imagine that could be negative to a Jew was happening. And then we, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, created the largest pro-Israel rally in the history of DePaul University. This festering of Jew hatred that was allowing to be played out on campus because the administrators took no action against the individuals who were on the encampment. Nobody was held accountable. Nobody was held responsible. Not a single suspension, not a single expulsion, nothing. Right? So people rolled into the next year thinking, hey, we can do the same thing. Clearly, DePaul wasn't going to stop anybody from coming. And so that allowed people who are not students to come and scope out Jewish students who are loud and proud on campus, which included myself and Max. And so my true motto is you have to lead from the front. If you say you're going to do something, when you put actions behind your words, it resonates more with people.
Here today with a special guest, Michael Kaminsky. Michael is the president of Students Supporting Israel at DePaul University. And I would also go as far as to say that the Chicago Jewish Alliance may never have been without him. Michael, thanks so much for joining today. Really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me, Daniel. I'm very excited to talk with you.
So on this podcast, we try to feature different people, different advocates, soldiers, people on the front lines of the diaspora, people on the front lines of the IDF. You definitely are on the front lines, right? And I think you have a great story to tell. But I would love to start with kind of your exposure to your Jewry, and then like your first conflict at DePaul, or when you started to realize this new sense of your identity.
Definitely. So I grew up in a family of Soviet immigrants. Both of my parents were born in Ukraine, and coming to America, they didn't really come with much of a Jewish identity. So it was kind of on us to make sure that we keep the Hanukkah and the high holidays. But that was about it. We never did Shabbat. We never did much reading from the Torah, never learned Hebrew. So I took it kind of upon myself to start practicing. And when it came time to get to my bar mitzvah, I asked my dad, what was your bar mitzvah like? And he was like, I never had one. So I had a bar mitzvah with my dad, and we were able to start building off on that moment to be more involved into our Jewish identity. So come high school, I decided, hey, as a Jew, it's probably important that I know how to read Hebrew, or at least know how to read from the Torah, other than just the English section that's on the left side of the page. And so I took Hebrew for 4 years. To this day, I can read it. I can't really speak it that well, but I'm learning. But that's kind of my segue into college. I decided, hey, in high school, I was able to read, and now let me build off of that and let me surround myself with more like-minded people. So in college, I joined AEPI, which is the Jewish fraternity on campus. I joined Chabad, which is run by Rabbi Mendy, fantastic rabbi. And I just started surrounding myself more in my Jewish identity. I was born October 6th, and on October 7th, 2023, there was a feeling inside of me that something just bad just happened, and I needed to do something. So I surrounded myself with people who also felt the same way, and we immediately took action. We organized a rally because there was already rallies planned before our first pro-Israel rally in support of the Hamas atrocities. And so that was kind of our segue into how I got to become an activist. And CJA then just naturally came in.
Yeah, let's talk about that first rally, because that's where we connected, right? I feel like you put an APB out as a Jew on campus to the Jewish community, to all the institutions, to everybody. You were kind of sounding the alarm. And then we linked, and we had this idea where instead of being combative with the encampments, which we were seeing a lot of at the time, where people, we're going up and probing questions, and we saw like a lot of social media people do that and stuff. We kind of had a different idea here in Chicago, right? Our idea was, let's just throw a party for the Jewish students
Absolutely.
and not even think about the encampments, right? And so, I mean, I obviously threw the event with you, but like from your perspective as a student reaching out to CJA and us kind of linking, and that first day when like you and Ben Dim were all out there like giving those speeches, and like it almost felt like God was there, right? I mean, it was a religious experience.
Right. It was fantastic. I mean, you look back at that and you're like, how did we get this? I mean, we had an airplane flying overhead carrying an Israeli flag. We had not just the Jewish community, we had the Black community with us, we had the Latino community with us, we had several people there. Although you could look at it as, hey, no media showed up to film everything that happened. They all wanted to film the interactions going on at the quad where the standoff is going on. We remember as the proud Jews that was the highlight of our experience during the encampment. I mean, you had the absolute worst thing that could be happening to Jewish people. They'd be harassed every single day, followed, threatened. Every single type of thing that you can possibly imagine that could be negative to a Jew was happening. And then we, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, created the largest pro-Israel rally in the history of DePaul University. And I'm sure it'll probably not be broken, at least for a long time. It was beautiful.
It was, I mean, there were thousands of people. It was almost like they needed a vehicle to do it. And we just happened to say, and it could have just been serendipitous with DePaul University. They had the encampments. All the Jews wanted a place to go to support the college students, the Jewish students. And it like all convalesced at DePaul University in Chicago. And that one day it was like over 1,500 people. And that was really the sign for all of us, I think, at Chicago Jewish Alliance, like, wow, this is something that we're touching a nerve, that we're doing something different. And just for the viewers today, actually, so what our idea was is we were going to throw an event for you guys like every Sunday because of the encampments. We were going to just do something after Shabbat and have a party. The first one, it was huge. The second one, we had kosher dills come out. And we did like a bake sale, so we didn't even get to the third one. The university actually used this as precedent to close down the encampments, but the encampments left on the second Sunday that we were going to do this event, walked over to our party and was yelling racial epithets, and I just think about that a lot because really what we did as Jews is we shined a light on love and positivity, and it was so bright that it blinded them into hate, and it like made them come over to us. And that effectivity is always stuck with me about like, you don't always need to combat adversarial things with negativity. Sometimes love like kind of conquers it. Okay, so flash forward. So we have this amazing event. Now we're working with the Chicago Jewish Alliance. What happens next in your college career here with your advocacy?
So yeah, encampments get shut down. There's a scathing report that comes out that the university actually publishes, acknowledging thousands of calls that came in. There was weapons found inside the encampment. It was revealed that the local preschool had to cancel recess for the kids because it was too dangerous. And it kind of just built on this festering of Jew hatred that was allowing to be played out on campus because the administrators took no action against the individuals who were on the encampment. Nobody was held accountable. Nobody was held responsible. Not a single suspension, not a single expulsion, nothing. Right? So people rolled into the next year thinking, hey, we can do the same thing. Now, they didn't do encampments because I'm sure that took a lot of time and resources that they probably don't have as much anymore of. And so they decided, what's the next big thing that we can do? And that is just continue protesting, but just get louder and invite more community members from outside organizations to come on campus, because clearly DePaul wasn't going to stop anybody from coming. And so that allowed people who are not students to come and scope out Jewish students who are loud and proud on campus, which included myself and Max. Max is a IDF soldier. He's also 28 years old, and he's a freshman at DePaul University. And so,
and he's currently serving on the front lines of Gaza.
And Yeah, and he's currently deployed. And so when I met Max again this beginning of this year, we're like, what can we do? And Max had tons of GoPro footage and stories that you can talk to Jewish students, non-Jewish students in front of the student center with a sign that just says, I'm an IDF soldier, come ask me anything about Israel. And I would stand right next to Max, and all we would do is try and counter all of these anti-Semitic blood libels or any questions people might have about Jewish people, about Israel, anything. And we would always try and shake everybody's hand, whether they agreed with us or not, at the end, just to show, hey, we're having productive dialogue, or we're having dialogue of some sort, so you can come back to us and you can ask us more questions. And so this went on for several weeks, usually about the same time, on the same day, every week. And one of the days, a mass individual approaches us, starts asking us anti-Semitic questions that we were trying to respond to. And it was all a ruse for his friend to come up from behind, wearing a ski mask as well, and start swinging, right? And that kind of led into a big scuffle that went down. And my friend and Max and I got injured as a result, simply because we were loud and proud Jews, and they wanted to attack us to try and send a message to the Jewish people. I had to have surgery, and Max had to recover as well. And it was just a very unsettling disposition. And all of this happened merely a few feet away from a university public safety officer, just stood there, watched the whole scene unfold, never said stop, never tried to intervene, never tried to run after them. He just stood there. I mean, how could you, as a safety officer, you're trying to protect and make sure that the students on your campus are safe, and you're watching them get beat up by two masked individuals, and you know the students who are getting beat up because they're there every week, and you know that they're students, and you just let it happen. I mean, it's just complete negligence and complete carelessness of the university to try and protect its Jewish students. And this is exactly kind of what we kind of saw coming after the encampment.
So, okay, so we had the encampment, we met with CJA, we got involved a little bit. You and Max really kind of took that, to that square or to that area. And then there was the assault. So it's okay. So put me in your head afterwards. So like, there's an assault. The first thing I would think is like, go to the cops, go to the JUFs of the world. Where did you go? What did you do? And like, how did you feel in that situation?
Yeah, so the first thing that happened, obviously, the police ended up showing up. Somebody called the police, and we took care of ourselves. Right, safety was our number one priority after that moment, and so was our own personal health. So we did what we had to do in terms of taking care of ourselves, and then we strategized. We're like, what happens now? And we looked at stories online, and we saw almost no student who's ever been attacked on their campus for simply being a Jew has ever publicly spoken out and tried to make a positive out of a negative, trying to inspire people to do more, to be more involved in their community. So Max and I were like, you know what? Listen, I think this is a great opportunity for us to really try and make light out of the darkness. And that's kind of what the Jewish spirit is all about, right? You get persecuted, and what do? You eat and you win the war, and then you survive, right? So we ate some food, of course, and then we're like, hey, we just survived, right? We're okay for the most part. So let's figure out how to come back stronger, right? And so we used our voice to amplify and to be that voice on campus, but also to be that voice nationally and internationally as a recognition of somebody who went through something terrible, just to come out on the back end and say, you know what, I'm going to do absolutely everything I can do to ensure that the next student never has to face something like this again. And CJA and us have been working together ever since to ensure, hey, all these organizations that are coming on campus that shouldn't be there and are already banned can now actually leave the campus, even though the university refuses to do so. Or how can we work with local lawmakers? How can we work with, the university administrators to pass laws or to pass any sort of regulation or force them to enforce their own codes and standards that they already have in place to ensure that there's not another attack against the Jewish people, but also there's not another attack against any group of individuals simply based on their national origin,
Identity.
ethnicity, race, identity, right? And so this is now where we're working together to make light out of the darkness and work for our future generations.
So I think you were there the other night. I was interviewing a Holocaust survivor at the Holocaust Museum. And you probably heard, and because I get this question, it's probably the first question I get leading a Jewish advocacy group from parents is it better? Like they saw the encampments, and this is always a real challenging question for me because, optics might look better sometimes, but like, is it better? Because, and I really had a challenging, like, I couldn't answer that question. Is it getting better? Is it better? Do you think the efforts of you, Chicago Jewish Alliance, all of these groups are making it better? Is it still getting, we're going to war with Iran? Do you see after this summer going into a more aggressive school year? I mean, what does it feel like to be a junior in college? Know you're going back another year after experiencing all of this in 1 year last year. Where's your head at with this? How do you feel? Optimistic? Pessimistic?
So my response would be, I wouldn't say it's getting better. I would say we're getting stronger, right? We're getting stronger in terms of our community is getting more close knit. Our Jewish people are expanding their branches to bring other strong and proud Jews in. Other organizations that usually never worked with other Jewish organizations and wanted to be very self-centered are now being forced to work with other organizations because they're targeting, if one person's involved with CJA, but they're also involved with the JUF, now the JUF will have to work with the CJA to ensure that one person can be safe, right? So we're seeing ways that organizations are now being forced into working together, which is a big step. As we know, it's been a lot of kind of factions that's been going on. And really, I would say that we are striving towards success. We're striving towards a place free from discrimination. But it simply can't be done from all of the pressure that organizations are putting on. Somebody in the administration has to wake up one day and say, hey, I've had enough. I've seen everything I need to see. Jews are being attacked on our campus. There's knives and pellet guns being found. Nobody's being held responsible. What's going on? Is it them that's the problem? Is it the Jews that are the problem? Or is it us that's the problem for not doing anything? And so
Well, do you think this administration has had that self-actualization moment? Because I feel like this administration definitely has implemented more, let's say, on college campuses that have fermented anti-Semitism than like maybe the last administration took it, or is that just someone not in college? How?
So administration, are you talking about like DePaul administration, or are you talking about like the political
You
administration?
meant the university. Okay,
So I'm talking
yeah.
about university. I'm talking about university. We can get to politics in a second. So university, I think, has nobody has waken up and nobody has noticed that they are the problem. It's not the Jews that are the problem. And additionally, they're, and to answer that question, but let's still stick with the university administrators. I think they started to have that realization when we pressured the Education Workforce Committee to get our university president to testify before Congress. And they didn't know that I was even going to be there and speak in the House of Representatives and speak to several members of the Education Workforce Committee and tell them exactly what it's like, exactly the testimonies that students have given me and that I have witnessed myself, and give them pictures and everything. And until it was in their face, the university never did anything. And that week, they said, okay, now we're going to start rolling out a anti-Semitism task force. Every university has a task force. Who knows what they're actually going to do? Now we're going to enforce a mask ban that we've been asking for such a long time that only until they're in front of Congress are they actually going to say that they're going to do it. And now we have to hold them accountable to that change. And so let's now look at the political sphere with the Trump administration. I think the Trump administration has been probably the absolute best for Jewish students on a university campus out of all of the administrations that I've ever been alive through, and that's since 2003. And that's not a long time, but what you're seeing now is a very hardcore stance saying it's not an anti-Semitism thing. It's not just an anti-American thing. It is like if you were calling for the death of Jews, the death of America, the death of the United States democracy, the death of Western society, to implement extremism into our education systems and to brainwash people into trying to support you, then there needs to be a clear-cut stance saying that this will not be tolerated. And yes, free speech is free speech, and nobody's trying to infringe on free speech. But free speech does not protect you stopping students from walking across your campus. Free speech does not include attacking students who might be different than you, right? And so you have your First Amendment rights, but this administration is not going after those First Amendment rights. They're going after the people who are making life living hell for students on campus through physical altercations, through blocking them on campus, and all these other different things that are not protected. And I don't think people understand that because nobody is enforcing these laws and rules until the administration comes in and says, hey, your university is failing. Now it's our time to show you exactly how much they failed. And they start pulling funding from Harvard, from Northwestern. I mean, these are really big schools that add a lot to society, but they're not going to be adding a lot to society if they can't start with their own students, right? You have to start with your own students and keeping them safe. Otherwise, why are you trying to keep the rest of the world safe and not your own people, right? It doesn't make sense. So you have to make sure that you're including everybody, and this administration is taking a hardcore stance on that, and I fully support them.
So there was, after this all happened, DePaul University. So you went to Washington, D.C., and the president of DePaul was one of the people summoned, right? Correct?
Right.
And DePaul University said, kind of breaking news then, that they were going to implement certain procedures, I believe. And then they came back and they said, we're going to do a masking procedure. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. So back to my original question about, is it better or is it worse? It's like, is it the illusion of it's better? I mean, we're stronger, I hear you, but are the institutions changing? You know, like we saw the Ivy League schools, they fired the presidents, but then the kids, like, you know, it's still an ecosystem that ferments anti-Semitism, that has a war on Western values, oppressor, oppressee. You know, you're going back to DePaul next year. Yes, you're more emboldened. Yes, you have more resources. Yes, the Jewish community is behind you 120%. But do you think we moved the dial as far as like the administration, as far as the ecosystem that the Jews have to go into? Is it getting better or is it not?
I mean, listen, we have to be hopeful, but what we've seen with the DePaul administrators is that they love to say so many things that sound amazing. And I know that you have experience with this as well, and yet do absolutely nothing, right? Or say, oh, it's this person's job, and that person tells you to go talk to somebody else and go talk to somebody else and go talk to somebody else, and eventually nobody's going to do anything because they're just trying to pawn it off until you either forget about it or you waste all your resources or they tire you out. And so I think it's important that we hold these people accountable to ensure that everything that they're doing is being strictly enforced. And we can't, you know, we as a Jew, you always have to see the bright side or the right side of things and say, hey, they said that they will do this. They said that they'll protect the Jewish students. Great, but now we're going to hold you accountable to it. And if you say it and you don't do it, oh, it's going to be a lot worse for you, right? And whatever that means, you know, maybe more Jewish students are coming out with their stories, or we amplify our voices even louder, whatever that may be. But the university is also under a hard spotlight right now. On almost every single local news outlet has documented Jew hatred at DePaul University, almost every single one of them. So many national and international news outlets have documented Jew hatred at DePaul University. And so if DePaul doesn't change, it only looks bad for them. It doesn't hurt us. It only helps us light our fire to continue pushing for more change to be had. And only until when we are absolutely satisfied that all Jewish students at DePaul University are free from discrimination, will then we ease up a little bit on our tension, but there will always be tension on the administrators simply because we've seen just how far they're willing to go to fail Jewish students on campus, and we don't know how far they're willing to go to continue that failure. And so we need to make sure that we're staying strong, and we have to be hopeful. We have to be hopeful. That's the Jewish spirit. But we have to make sure that we're working together with all of these Jewish organizations, especially with CJA and local aldermen, and really push for safety to be the number one priority on our campus.
Yeah, I love that. And accountability, I think, is so important, just staying on it. So I'm I'm a parent and I got a kid who's Jewish and I'm thinking about sending him to DePaul next year. What would you tell me just to close the bookends on that? Yeah.
I would say every university will always have a group for Jewish students that they can feel comfortable and that they can feel like they're like-minded people and they can feel like they have a home even in the midst of complete chaos on campus. So yes, there was a lot of things that happened on DePaul University's campus that was very negatively impacted, specifically targeting against the Jewish students. But we have a fantastic organization such as Students Supporting Israel I'm president of. We have Chabad on campus. The rabbi loves everybody. We have Hillel, if that's your thing. We have Kahila. We have so many Jewish organizations. We have AEPI. You can join a variety of these organizations or all of them, which is kind of what I did, and really find people that are like-minded, that are willing to stand up behind you, willing to fight with you and for you, and you fighting for them because it's a brotherhood no matter where you go. And it's really a family. So you'll always find a family no matter where you are on campus. And if you ever need somebody to get a hold of and you say, hey, I just need somebody to talk to. I just need somebody to grab coffee with. I just need somebody to decompress with. I'm more than happy to do that with any student, any faculty member, any community member, anywhere. And also happy to connect anybody with somebody because there is Jewish people that are proud, that are strong in their Zionist belief, that are proud Israelis that just want to see other people succeed and be happy and live life free from discrimination. So we'll always find you a person you can be with.
I would also tell them that you have the Chicago Jewish Alliance, right?
And you have the CJA right there supporting you.
You got the CJA, baby, always. So I guess, all right, I kind of wanted to bring this up since you brought your Students Supporting Israel, because I find that work fascinating. I find it always fascinating to learn about our allies that are involved and that really are on the front lines here and that are even more involved than some apathetic Jews that, have no clue what's going on or just don't want to get involved or hide. And so I know you made some connections in your chapter. What do you see as far as not just on campus, but at your age your age we see a downward slope when we look at the data because they had a real good propaganda thing going on TikTok and the apps. And, so we see like mostly the older generation being very Zionistic here in the United States and with a dip to younger generations. So being younger, not just on campus, what's your sense of, and especially in Chicago, this specific, you don't go to college campus, you go to college campus, your college campus is in the middle of a metropolitan area. That's a little different of an experience. How do you view allies and others getting involved or not getting involved? How have you seen that on your campus, your chapter, and in life?
Yeah, so I wish more allies would get involved, but we have seen some fantastic allyships form with the Christian community specifically, with the religious Christian community, and as well with the Hindus. The Hindu community love the Jewish people. India and Israel have very close partnerships in the international community. And we've also seen that play out. When Max and I were standing trying to speak to people, we had one instance I'll share with you. An Indian student came up to us and he printed out this beautiful poster that said, India stands with Israel. And he had the biggest smile on his face. And we all took a picture and he was like, no matter what anybody else tells you, I want to make sure you know that we love you, I love you, and the Hindu community loves the Jewish people, and we stand with you. And it was just such a heartfelt and touching message because you will always find allies in places where you don't necessarily suspect them to be, right? And so when you reach out and you try and spread a message of love, of positivity, of hey, let's make the world a better place. Who doesn't want to be a part of that, right? But you don't want to be a part of trying to make the world a better place for everybody. You want to be a part of the world that makes the world a worse place for everybody. Like it's a complete no-brainer.
Some like to see it burn,
right? Some like to see it burn, but for the most part, I feel like everybody has this natural instinct that they just want some sort of peace, and people only protest because they don't see peace happening, right? And at least that's from what we're seeing. And so why don't you stand with the people who are the only democracy in the Middle East, who are the only people trying to advocate for peace constantly, who have a country that gives the most amount of rights across all religions. LGBTQ community, one of the largest in Israel. Muslims are free to practice and work wherever they want in Israel. Christian community can do the same thing. I mean, you won't see this type of inclusion in any other country in the Middle East. And so when you start realizing that the Jewish people and that Israel constantly stand for trying to promote love and trying to spread a message of hope in a world full of despair, then I feel like it's a no-brainer to want to be a part of it. Unfortunately, we see a lot of corruption because they're getting paid by these organizations and these terrorist groups to spread that hate. But the way that we win over hate is to put enough love and enough light into the world and to show that we are on the right side of history, and time will only show that they were on the wrong.
So, like, specifically in your chapter, is it 100% Jewish?
It's not 100% Jewish. We have Eastern Orthodox members, we have Christian members, we have Catholics. We don't just have Jews.
So, okay. So the allies really are, to some degree, wherever they are showing up. Yeah, I mean, I see the same thing too. You could kind of see how allegoric it is to like the 1930s, who were like upstanders, who were like aware and were like, no, this isn't right. You know, you really do see those people, and it's truly amazing. So with this all being in your college experience, I have seen you take this shit and spin it into gold. I have seen you and Max. I mean, it is very unique that you two, you're 21 years old, right, Michael?
Right. Yeah.
That you took something for so many people that would be traumatic, that would make them recoil, that would make them, do the opposite of going out. And a lot of victims take it and become like reclusives, a lot than I know. And for you and Max to take this message to Washington, D.C., to the administration on your campus. I know tomorrow or today you're flying out to Washington, D.C. again.
Yes.
To speak. Tell me about that rally. I know I'm going as well, but I want to hear it from your POV.
Yes. So there's a rally on Thursday of this week. I believe that's June 26th. And it's simply a rally to march for Jewish civil rights. It's going to be at the U.S. Capitol grounds. There's going to be several notable speakers there, such as Representative Tim Walberg, who's the chair of the Education Workforce Committee. There's going to be other congressmen there to speak. The entire premise is to amplify the grassroots organizations' voices, that no matter what time of day it is, no matter how big or how small the incident is, if somebody says, hey, I need help, I was just a victim of anti-Semitism, my business was a victim of anti-Semitism, or I just need support, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what time of day it is, no matter how much money it takes, will always show up. And these organizations that are being a part of this rally and march, it's not even a protest. We're not protesting anything. We're just spreading love. We're spreading peace, and we're showing, hey, we will always show up for you, no matter if it's in Washington, D.C., if it's in LA, if it's in Hawaii, or if it's in Israel or any other country or city in the world. We'll always come, because that's where our people are, and that's where our people need us. And right now, our people need us in D.C. There were 2 embassy officials who worked at the Israeli embassy that were murdered last month in Washington, D.C., simply for being Jews. And the guy, after he killed them, like ruthlessly, said, free Palestine. I mean, how are you going to free Palestine by killing 2 people? You're not going to do anything. And so it's our turn now to show support for the D.C. community and make sure that they feel us and feel our presence. I'm also going to an event at the White House tomorrow on Wednesday. I'm meeting with the liaison of Antisemitism task force to the president. And we're going to discuss how Jewish students can continue to work with the current administration in terms of combating anti-Semitism. So it's a very fantastic opportunity for any student who's able to go and able to attend. And really, the best way to do it is just, as a student, you have to take it upon yourself to make these connections. Nothing's going to be handed to you. Nothing's ever handed to me. I work hard day and night to make sure I can establish relationships with organizations, with people, so I can get these opportunities. Any other student and any other individual anywhere can get the same opportunities if they just work hard enough and want it bad enough. And so my true motto is you have to lead from the front. If you say you're going to do something, if you say wear your Megan Davids, if you say wear your yarmulkes, and you're not actually wearing your Megan Davids and wearing your yarmulkes, especially when there's chaos around you and people are looking to somebody who's doing that, then you're not leading from the front. Then you're just all talk. And so when you put actions behind your words, it resonates more with people and they feel more empowered to also then wear their Megan Davids, wear their yarmulkes, wear their tzitzits, whatever it is, and continue to be active in their activism and their Judaism.
Which brings me directly to my next question, which would be like, what would your advice be for the next generation of Jews coming into college, coming into their 19, 20 years, and they're entering really no matter where they are in America, if they're by a big metropolitan area, this is ubiquitous everywhere. So what kind of advice would you give that student? I think you just gave great advice, but would you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say never forget at the end of the day you're a Jew. Never forget that your family endured a lot to make sure that you're still a Jew in this day and age. There's only 0.2% of us in the world. There's only less than 20 million Jews in the world. And so you have to take it upon great pride and great privilege to be a proud Jew. Make sure that you are practicing of some sort, whether that's wearing a Megan David, that could be practicing for you. Keeping kosher, that could be practicing with you. Or don't eat pork, but you can eat everything else, if kosher is too hard for you. Whatever you can do to ensure that at the end of the day, you never forget you're a Jew, because on your tombstone, when you die, it'll always have a Star of David on it. You have to be proud of what you do between those numbers of your day that you were born and the day that you died. So you always have to give thanks to God, but at the end of the day, also don't forget you are a human being. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to, go have fun. You should have fun. Life is about having fun and doing things you want to do, succeeding and being all you can be, right? And so don't forget to have fun sometimes, even when everything else is going on. And marry a Jew if you can. That's the best way to continue the Jewish legacy. We need more Jewish babies in the world. We know that. And just be a beacon of light and shine brighter than all of the darkest rooms in the world. And that's how you continue to ensure that the Jewish people will never die. Jewish people will always survive. The Jewish people will always win. The Jewish people will always live.
That's great. So now with this pedigree that you now have kind of built over the last year, do you think there's been a career change? What have you wanted to do? What do you want to do? I know that we're going to DC together. I'm coming back to Chicago and you're staying there. What are you up to and what do you want to do in life with this background now?
Yeah, so I just got an internship working for Representative Lisa McClain, Congresswoman in Washington, D.C. Very grateful, looking forward to making exceptional work get accomplished. I kind of grew up wanting to go into federal law enforcement, just being a public servant to the people, but also protecting the people, not just the Jewish people, all American citizens. And so I kind of projected myself to be on this path where in college I'm a criminology major, minoring in international politics, and wanting to go into a field of federal law enforcement where I can protect the American citizens and give back to my country as best as I can, the same way that my country took in my parents when they first came to America. And so now I'm, kind of being steered a little bit towards, the politics side of things. I just have more connections right now in the politics game. And so it would be unlike me to not take advantage of all the opportunities that I'm getting. And so, although I didn't ever see myself working in politics, let me take advantage of all the opportunities. Let me make all the connections. Let me gain all of the experience. Because if that's where life takes me, that's where life takes me. If life takes me back to federal law enforcement, then that's where I'm going. Life takes me somewhere else and I'm going to become a doctor, then that's where life takes me. But you have to really, look at why things are playing out the way they are and take advantage of everything that is coming your way. and work hard in whatever field you are in to ensure that you succeed no matter what, no matter where you end up. And that's just what I'm doing now.
It's amazing, Michael. I wanted to thank you so much for joining today. And I definitely don't think this will be the last we'll hear from you. That's for sure. Is there any final thoughts that you might have about, I don't know, next week in DC or what's going on next year at DePaul? Is there anything that you would want to leave the Jewish community in general with the final thought?
Well, I would love to just talk about CJA for a second.
Oh, go on.
All right. The Chicago Jewish Alliance has really been there since day one when things went down on our university campus. And yeah, it might have been one of their first events, and it was, kind of hectic and kind of crazy, and there were so many different moving parts. It was the best experience for any Jewish student at DePaul University, and it really couldn't have been done without CJA. And to see the Chicago Jewish Alliance continue to blossom, to prosper over a year already since our first event ever went down, and to see it continue to grow into this field where now they're working with law enforcement, they're working with the lawmakers, they're working with all different types of organizations. We're bringing in guest speakers, we're bringing in these big names that you see all over the news to come and speak to the Jewish community. I mean, the work that CJA put in, specifically everybody on the staff, but also everyone who continues to support us, I mean, it doesn't go unnoticed. Everybody notices it. You can go anywhere in the world and be like, hey, do you follow the Chicago Jewish Alliance? And from what I've seen, and I have asked, they're always like, we follow the Chicago Jewish Alliance. I can't believe you're part of them. Can't believe that you work with them. And it's always like leaves me with a big smile because I'm like, that's my friends. That's my people. Like, I know the guys who started it. They started at my university campus. It's just so great. And it really can't succeed without the support that we're getting, without the donations that we're getting to continue to fuel this big, bright fire. And without Danny and everybody else on the team that continues to work day in and day out. And mind you, they have other jobs as well. The CJ isn't their only job. They're working hard on other things as well. But to see them put in so much effort just to say, you know what, we won. We survived. We will be there. And no matter what time of day you call me, no matter how much money you need, we will always make sure that you feel like you're taken care of and you feel like you have a community, not just with the Chicago Jewish Alliance, but with the Chicago Jewish community. And so I really want to say big thank you to CJA.
Oh, it's so reciprocal. Thank you, Mike.
Continue to keep doing all the amazing things you're doing.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, dude.
Follow the Chicago Jewish Alliance to stay in the loop and subscribe to this podcast so you can see what's coming next. We're going to have speakers that represent the entire spectrum of the Jewish community, from philosophical thinkers, from soldiers, people on the front lines of advocacy work on universities. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.